Okay, we're going to adjourn the meeting at this time. And those of you who are looking at us from home on television, welcome to the Village of Royal Palm Beach Council Annual Reorganization Meeting. It's Thursday, March 19th at 6 p.m. As you can see, we are configured differently this evening. We're trying to be compliant with the social distance ordinance that has been put in place to help us try to avoid spreading COVID-19. So with that, I'm going to ask everyone to stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And yes, Mayor, can we begin with you?
I have to get used to
Take
this.
a look, getting used to.
Yeah. Okay.
Come on down.
Before we do that, we swear it in first.
Yes.
Okay, I'm first.
Yes, you
Okay.
are.
We don't do roll call.
And then we'll proceed with Group 1 and then Group 3.
Do you have 3 copies? Do you have 3 separate pens?
To raise your right hand, please. And repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Frederick Pinto,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
protect, and defend
protect, and defend
the Constitution and government
the Constitution and government
of the United States
of the United States
and the state of Florida,
and the state of Florida,
that I am duly qualified
that I am duly qualified
to hold office
under the Constitution
of the state,
and
that I will
well
and faithfully
perform the duties of mayor
for the Village of Royal Palm Beach,
for the Village of Royal Palm Beach,
on which I am now
about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thank you.
Too much.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
We're getting good at this.
Please raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Jeff Amara,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
protect, and defend
protect, and defend
the Constitution and government
the Constitution and government
of the United States
of the United States
and of the state of Florida,
and of the state of Florida,
that I am duly qualified
that I am duly qualified
to hold office
to hold office
under the Constitution
under the Constitution
of the state,
of this state,
and that I will well
and
and faithfully perform
the
duties of councilman
for the Village of Royal Palm Beach,
for the Village of Royal Palm Beach,
on which I am now
about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thank you.
I brought my own.
Thank you.
Come on. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me.
I state your name.
I, Selena Samios,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
protect, and defend
the Constitution and government
of the United States
of the United States
and of the state of Florida,
and of the state of Florida,
that I am duly qualified
that I am duly qualified
to hold office
to hold office
under the Constitution
of the state,
and that I will well
and that I will well
and faithfully perform
and faithfully perform
the duties of councilwoman
the duties of councilwoman
for the Village of Royal Palm Beach,
for the Village of Royal Palm Beach,
on which I am now
of which I am now
about to enter.
about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thank you. Which one was sprayed?
I just
Okay, would, Jeff, Selena, would you want to make comments? Now would be a good time if you did.
Okay, well, I thank the village for the opportunity to continue to serve. Look forward to a couple of really outstanding years, and we are certainly not short of any challenges at this moment in time, but this is a time when you get to see the best that people have to offer. So I look forward to working with my fellow council members and doing great things for this community. Thank you.
Good. Selena?
I just want to say thank you very much. I'm truly honored and grateful for the opportunity to continue to serve the residents of Royal Palm Beach. Thank you.
Okay, and I'd just like to say as well, I'm delighted to have the privilege and honor of continuing to be able to serve this village. We have a tremendous village here. We're going through a challenging time, but so is the rest of the world. But we will weather this the best we can in our village and making sure that we do what we can to keep our citizens safe. So delighted to have the opportunity to continue to serve and serve with this wonderful council. So with that, we'll move on, right? Thank you. Now we do roll call. Diane, please let the record show that all members of council, even those who were just sworn in, are here this evening, all right, fully present. And with that, we go to our agenda for organization. The first one is resolution number 20-02, appointing Diane DeSanto as village clerk. I have to get a motion on that,
I make a motion to appoint Diane DeSanto as the village clerk.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Diane, please let the record show you were appointed 5-0. Okay. Agenda item R2 is a resolution number 20-03, appointing Stanley G. Hockman as village treasurer.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 20-03.
Second.
Second.
We have a second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Stanley, you have been reappointed. 5-0. Diane, let the record show such. Okay, agenda item R3 is an appointment of council liaison officers. For the first one would be for the Recreation Advisory Board. How does the current liaison?
I have spoken with the current board, and they would ask that I return.
Oh, they asked for you to
They
return.
asked me to return, so yes, I would like
Okay.
to.
We'll look for a motion to reappoint Selena, Councilwoman Samios.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Councilwoman Samios to the Recreation Advisory Board as council liaison.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R3 was approved 5-0. Agenda item R4 is the appointment, oh, I'm sorry, I'm still on R3. Now I will look for, we're looking for a motion to appoint a liaison for the Planning and Zoning Commission. How do you feel about that?
Well, I didn't ask them, like Selena. However, I'm willing to serve again unless someone else would like to be the liaison.
I'll look for a motion.
I make a motion to appoint Jen Radusky as the council liaison for the planning and
Second.
zoning.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that Councilwoman Radowski was reappointed to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Liaison. Next, we have the liaison, council liaison for the Education Advisory Board. Jeff.
Well, I'd like to continue to serve in that capacity.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to reappoint Jeff Amara as liaison to the Education Advisory Board.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that Councilman Amara was reappointed as liaison for the Education Advisory Board. That concludes the appointments under agenda item R3. Moving on to agenda item R4 is the appointment of a council liaison officer for the Central Palm Beach County Chamber of Commerce. Who's that now?
I think it's Richard.
It's
Yeah, I
me
think
and
it was
James,
Rich.
the backup. Correct.
All right, let's do that again. Who's-
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's me.
Yes.
okay.
It's you?
Yes,
All right, this is the Central Palm Beach County Chamber.
correct.
Right.
Okay. You want to continue?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, look for a motion.
I make a motion to appoint Councilman Valentis as the liaison for the Central Palm Beach County Chamber.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that Councilman Valentes was reappointed as liaison for the Central Palm Beach Chamber, 5-0. Appointment for the Western Communities Council, which I'm currently serving in that role.
Right. Do you want to continue?
Yeah, I'll continue.
I'll make
That
a
was
motion.
enthusiastic.
That was, I know.
I'll make a motion to reappoint the mayor as our liaison or representative on the Western Communities Council.
I'll
Second.
second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed, okay. Diane, please let the record show that I was reappointed to the liaison for the Western Communities Council, 5-0. Now we have agenda item R5, which is appointment of voting delegates. We're missing one here, aren't we?
What are we missing?
We don't have to do a reappointment for the CPA? That's in October, okay. I'm thinking way in advance, good. Okay. Appointment and voting delegates for Palm Beach County League of Cities. I believe that would be you, sir, at this time?
It is at this time.
And everyone else is backup,
And the
correct?
rest of the council,
Yeah, and
we
the
all
rest of the
back up.
council is back up.
So. you'd
I'll
like
make
to
a
continue?
motion to appoint Councilman Humera as our delegate for Palm Beach County League of Cities with all of the remaining members of the council as backups.
Second.
Motion and a second. Do we, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed to agenda item R5 was approved 5-0, with Councilman Hamera being appointed as the delegate and the rest of the council being its backups. Agenda item R6 is the appointment of vice mayor. You like to speak on that? Make a
Sure.
nomination?
Sure. As we have traditionally done, rotate the seat. So I would like to appoint Councilman Humera in seat 1 as the vice mayor.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R6, appointing Councilman O'Meara as vice mayor, was approved 5-0. Now, usually at this time, I would invite everyone to join us in a brief recess over coffee and cake. But due to the current emergency circumstances and our social distance requirement, we have foregone that for this evening. So having said that, I will have a 2-minute recess. If anyone would like to leave and not stay for the regular meeting, that's fine, but we're going to reconvene in 2 minutes. Thank you. I can think of a few things.
Supposed to start at 6.
All right, we're going to reconvene. I'd like to welcome everyone to, it's 6:30, March 19th, Thursday, to the regular council meeting for the Village of Royal Palm Beach. We've already had our Pledge of Allegiance, so we'll forego that here. And Diane, please let the record show that all members of council are still here, all right? We're still present. As you can see, we had to make some modifications to our agenda this evening. We did have 3 presentations that were scheduled to be presented here this evening for 10 years of service in the village, and we will be doing that presentation at a later date because one of the requirements of that presentation is we take a group picture, and we can't take any group pictures tonight, right, to be compliant. So that will be removed from the agenda. Another item was brought to my attention, Bradford, is agenda item, a regular consent agenda item 7 still.
Number 7, we did receive a request late in the day today that they would like to postpone their event. So if that one item, number 7, could be pulled from the consent agenda, voted on for postponement, we inform them, give us a little heads up and we'll place you back on another council meeting.
Okay.
It doesn't need to be postponed to a time certain because it doesn't need advertisement.
All right, so Keith, so will have to take a postponement action on that?
Yes, sir. Why don't we remove that
So
from
we'll pull it
consent?
and then take the, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. I don't think there are any other adjustments to the agenda, am I correct? Did I miss anything? Okay, with that, I am delighted, this is something that was postponed a little bit, but I'm glad tonight that we have the wonderful opportunity of recognizing our outstanding principal, Jesus Amas, from Royal Palm Beach High School. When we heard of your wonderful achievement, we wanted to actually put it in writing, our congratulatory feelings towards you, and we decided, you know what? We didn't want to just send this to you in the mail and have you open up an envelope. We asked if you can come here this evening so that we can personally congratulate you, and I'd just like to read the letter to you that we had put together on that. It's to Principal Jesus Amas. Dear Jesus, on behalf of the Village Council of Royal Palm Beach, we want to personally congratulate you as the winner of the 2020 Principal of the Year for the School District of Palm Beach County. You have made great strides in turning what was a D-rated school into a B-rated school in your tenure since 2010. Under your leadership, Royal Palm Beach High School has flourished into the happiest high school in the district. And the Village of Royal Palm Beach is so proud of your achievement. We give you our heartiest congratulations. Thank you.
Good. I can stand, well,
Oh, yeah.
we don't have a good backdrop now.
See about the congratulations banner.
Yeah, in front of congratulations. That's good, I like that.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll start with reports. I guess my report is all about things that have been going on concerning the COVID-19 event that we are living through. Today I did attend a conference call along with the village manager with the Western Communities Council Plus. I'm saying the plus because there were some extra folks that was participating in the conference call. And it was good to have some of the additional input and thoughts. But the whole point of the conference call was to have the communities within the Western communities just make sure that we're talking to each other in terms of things that we're going to put in place, actions we may be taking, actions that we're contemplating, what our thought process is. And we just kind of all shared that because it wouldn't make sense for the Village of Royal Palm to take one action which is contrary to something they're doing across the street in Wellington and vice versa. So it was good, and I think we're all pretty much on the same page. The representative for the Sheriff's Department was there on the call and shared something which we have already kind of determined in the village. You hear about different cities putting in curfews, okay? And at least collectively, we're not going to be doing that. It's something that if the county puts in place, that way the sheriff can control it across the county, and it's consistent. Other than that, we're not thinking about doing anything along those lines, and no one who participated today in the call thought so. We are going to be doing this Western Community conference call for every Thursday for the foreseeable future, I guess. I don't know how long that'll be. And I'll make sure our village manager is in attendance there on that call. Other than that, I will ask that Jan start with the report.
Good evening, everyone. Again, like the mayor, this COVID-19 has sort of consumed us with what's going on. So pretty obvious that most of our events have been canceled, but I just want to wish our residents to be safe, to be healthy, to be taking care of each other and our neighbors, and looking out for each other, and we'll get through this together. Thanks.
Good evening. Thank you. Well, likewise, since we're talking about the coronavirus, I encourage everybody to take individual common sense kind of measures and look after each other, because that'll get us through this more effectively than any other combination of things I can think of. In the meantime, to the extent that we can, we're going to continue with business, especially the important business of the village. One of the activities that we're about halfway through right now is the awarding of the scholarships for the village. That money will be important to the graduating seniors from Royal Palm Beach, and so we're going to continue on with that. With the next step in this process being on April the 4th, which will be the interviews. So we have now identified 16 out of the 31 applicants to be interviewed on April the 4th from 10 o'clock until 2 o'clock. They've been notified, and they have time slots, so we won't have a lot of people sitting around and that type of thing. And we'll go through the interview process, and the Education Advisory Board will select the 10 applicants to receive the $1,000 scholarships from the village, and that will actually be presented at the council meeting on May the 21st. So everything going in a positive direction by that time. We look forward to congratulating those 10 individuals. One other thing, the legislative session has, I don't know whether it's officially concluded or not yet. They had a 72-hour cooling off period. But the last piece they had was more pro forma than it is anything else, and that is wrapping up the budget. And Florida League of Cities legislative team will be doing a postseason legislative briefing to talk about what actually happened and what didn't happen during the session, and that'll be on March the 25th. And you can register online. Actually, I have the number. It's a conference call, so if anybody's interested in calling in, I have the number and the code to get you in, so it might be worthwhile doing that. Thank you.
Good.
The only comment I would have is before, I guess, everything started getting canceled, we actually did hold the first father-daughter dance here in Royal Palm Beach, which I thought was, under the circumstances, a pretty good event. It was, the Cultural Center just really is a fabulous place to hold something like that, and I thought I recognized someone else from out there. My daughter had a great time, and it was, they had games for the girls and a dinner, and they took pictures, and it really was, nice, even despite the circumstances. A lot of kids got to have fun before reality set in even more, and I hope this is something that we can continue going forward, because I do see it becoming bigger, especially, I thought, I was honestly impressed. There must have been at least between 20 and 30 girls there, and, under the circumstances, I thought that was pretty impressive. So good job by the staff, Lou. They were very accommodating. The DJ that was hired was very interactive, and I just want to say good job and keep it up. Thank you.
Actually, very similar to what everybody else said about everything that's going on. With that, though, the events had been canceled over at the rec center, and that also includes all of our senior programs as well. So if there's some seniors out there looking for food delivery services, there is Meals on Wheels of Palm Beach, of the Palm Beaches, and their phone number is 561-802-6979. And then also please contact the rec center to find out if you need delivery options as well. Thanks.
You get that number, Diane? Okay. That's it. Ray?
No report, Mayor.
Keith?
Thank you, Mayor. Just at the last council meeting, council asked me to follow up with you and give you an update on the status specifically of Senate Bill 1000 and companion bills, House Bill 1371. That's the one that had to do with the crosswalks in between intersections. It actually passed the House, but fortunately on the 17th, it was withdrawn and indefinitely postponed from consideration in the Senate.
Great.
Okay, that's good to know, thank you.
And I'll leave my report with that for tonight.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, that will conclude our reports. At this time, if anyone has a petition to present to the council, now would be the time. Seeing none, I'm closing the floor to accepting petitions. And now, I do not have any comment cards submitted to me for items or statements from the public on non-agenda items or consent agenda item, but if there's anyone here who would like to comment and make a comment on a non-agenda item or a consent agenda item, now would be the time. Seeing none, I'm closing the floor to statements from the public on non-agenda items and consent agenda items. Now, concerning the consent agenda, well, I guess I'll have you read it and then we'll take the action. You had a question?
No, that's fine.
Would you like me to?
Yeah.
Number 1, approval of the minutes of the council regular meeting of February 20th, 2020, and council special meeting of March 12th, 2020. 2, fiscal year 2019 comprehensive annual financial report. 3, approval and authorization in accordance with established policy to make a budget amendment for Fund 303 in the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget. Said amendment to transfer a total of $30,000 from La Mancha Drainage PW 07031 to PBSO Flooring Replacement PW 2003. 4, approval and authorization for the village manager to enter into agreement with Sweet Cravings LLC as recommended by the selection committee as the most responsive and responsible proposer to provide food and beverage service at Commons Park. 5, approval and authorization in accordance with established policy to make a budget amendment for Fund 302 in the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget. Said amendment to transfer a total of $175,000 from PW19RR Road Resurfacing to PW1806 Bridge Slope Stabilization. 6, approval and authorization for the village manager to enter into a contract with Arbor Tree and Land Incorporated, the sole responsible bidder for the construction of the Bridge Slope Stabilization Project PW1806 in an amount not to exceed $549,000. Number 7 has been pulled from the agenda. Number 8, adoption of resolution number 2007, a resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, providing for the approval and authorization for Uber Technologies Incorporated to utilize the official village municipal seal as part of the Uber app developed based on the village's enrollment in the Uber for Business program. And 9, approval and authorization for the village manager to execute the Uber Transit Profiles Agreement by and between Uber Technologies Incorporated and the Village of Royal Palm Beach.
Okay, the first thing I think we should do is regarding consent agenda item number 7. I'm looking for a motion to postpone that to a time uncertain.
Just postpone it.
Just postpone it?
Yes, sir.
Looking for a motion to postpone it, consent agenda item number 7.
So do we have to pull it first to discuss it separately? Oh, it already was pulled, so that was done,
Yeah.
okay.
So
Who made the
we got a
motion?
motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. So Diane, please let the record show that consent agenda item 7 was pulled for postponement.
Yes, Mayor.
May I, Mr. Mayor, may I pull regular consent agenda item number 4, please?
Yes. It's okay.
Is that what you wanted to? Oh,
I want to pull number 2 as well.
okay.
All right, so we got number 2 you want to pull, number 4, and didn't somebody want to pull number 9?
Do you want to pull?
Yeah, I'll pull it.
Okay, good. Okay, we got that, Diane? We're pulling agenda for discussion?
Right, got it.
Number 2, number 4, and number 9. All right, so with that, unless there's any discussion on any other consent agenda items, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to approve the consent agenda with the exceptions of 2, 4, 7, which was pulled, and 9.
Okay.
Very good.
We have a
Second.
motion, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that consent agenda items, with the exception of 2, 4, and 9, was approved 5-0. Okay? Now, with that, who wants to talk about agenda item number
Number 2?
2?
So number 2 is our comprehensive annual fiscal report, and I know that Mr. Vale is here, and it's always a good time to check in to find out how well we're doing, and I love for him to give some highlights for our residents.
Come on down.
Good evening. Thank you for having me this evening. Everybody's got a copy of the report, so I just thought I'd highlight some key items. And the first thing is on page 1, we have the independent auditor's report. It's an unmodified opinion, which is the highest form of opinion that we can give as independent certified public accountants, and it basically says that the financial statements are fairly presented in accordance with U.S. generally accepted accounting principles. Moving on into the actual financial statements, page 11, we've got the statement of net position. So this is all the village's assets and liabilities, including our capital assets, our infrastructure, as well as we don't have debt here, so that's a good thing, but other liabilities, pension liabilities, post-employment benefit liabilities, compensated absence liabilities. When we look at that, our total assets at September 30th, 2019 are $176 million. That's up about $2.3 million from the prior year. And that's primarily in the areas of cash and investments is up. We look at our liabilities, they're up about $680,000 from the prior year. And the majority of that increase is attributable to the net pension liability that is allocated to the village from the state, from the FRS system. And then at the end of the day, we end up with a net equity, if you will, of $165 million, and that's up about $1.4 million from the prior year. The next thing I'd like to focus when we're looking at the revenues expenses is the general fund, because that's really the main operating fund of the village. And if we look at September 30th, I'm on page 16, if you have the report, we had total revenue for the general fund of almost $26.5 million for the year. That's up about $3.8 million. Couple items, taxes are up a little bit. Intergovernmental revenue grants is up a little bit. The biggest thing that was up was our investment earnings was up almost $3 million for the year.
Go figure.
That's a good thing. Maybe different next year, but anyway, so our revenues are up $3.8 million. Our expenses were up about $1.2 million, and so we end up for the year with an increase of $2.2 million in the general fund. Looking into the footnotes, the one I usually like to highlight is the investment portfolio. On page 33, we've got almost $76 million in our investment portfolio, and that's just the general fund, not counting any pension funds, because we can't spend the pension fund money. And that's primarily Treasury notes, $22 million, corporate debt, $24 million, and then asset-backed bonds of almost $12 million. So we're in some pretty good, income-producing assets, which is the majority of what you're going to find in the governmental sector. The next section that I would focus on, other than that, the rest of the footnotes really are a lot similar to last year, so I'm not go through all those. Looking at the budgetary comparison schedule on pages 54, 5, 6, and 7. So we had budgeted, our final amended budget was to spend about $4.9 million of accumulated fund balance. So we're going to spend a little bit more than we were anticipating bringing in revenues for the year. In actuality, we ended up with $2.2 million in excess revenues, so we did not end up using any of that fund balance that we had anticipated. Again, when we look at what those variances were, on the revenue side, again, it's $3.3 million of investment income. That's primarily the difference there. When we look on the expenditure side, there's a number of departments where the personal services was under the budgeted amounts, and a couple where the smaller amounts were under in utility services was under almost $200,000, and the operating expenses in the culture and recreation department were under. So we did quite well in terms of what we budgeted and what we ended up in terms of actual dollars. The last thing, there's a bunch of statistical tables. If you need something to do at night, it's kind of interesting sometimes to see where the you've changed over time, but it's just good reading occasionally. The other big section is there's a compliance section in the back of the report. A number of required reports that we're required to put in here. The first one is independent auditor's report on internal control over financial reporting and compliance. So did we identify any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in internal control or in your compliance monitoring systems? We did not have anything identified there. This year, the village was required to have a federal single audit because we had federal grant expenditures in excess of $750,000. That's on page 89. So we had almost $700,000 through the Department of Transportation, and then almost $400,000 for Department of Homeland Security. That was a Hurricane Irma, as the government started approving those expenditures. There's a number of reports here. We didn't have any issues. We're required to look into one of the major programs there and test for compliance, test for internal controls. No problems there. The last thing, well, two more reports, I guess. There's a management letter required by the Auditor General by us for the state of Florida, and number of reporting requirements there. We're required to look at your financial condition, and they've got they group the municipalities in categories with similar municipalities, and we take metrics and compare them and see how you grade out there. Everything was fine there. There's nothing that you've got such a huge investment portfolio that you stand far and above a lot of municipalities there. And anyway, in the rest of the report, nothing that was stand out that would be required to be reported to the Auditor General. And then lastly, we're required to report on investment compliance. Are you following your investment policy and agreeing, making sure if you've got percentage allocations, are you in compliance with that? Are your investments in compliance with what you say you're authorized to invest in? We had no issues in that regard either, so all was well there. That's in a quick nutshell the story. All's good?
All's good. Any questions?
Any questions? Okay. If anybody ever has a question, our letterhead's in here. Feel free to give me a call, and be glad to help you out.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for the report.
Thank you.
Okay. If there are no further questions, I'll look for a motion on consent agenda item number 2.
I move to make a motion for consent agenda number 2.
Second motion.
To approve.
Oh, okay.
Move to approve.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that consent agenda item 2 was approved 5-0. Who wants to speak? Selena, you want to speak about?
Well, because the applicant's here, so I'd like to hear from them, but I see Mr. Recchio approaching, so do you want to start?
Yeah, Mayor and Council, this is This is something that we've been trying to make a success over in Commons Park. And what we have here is we have the applicants for Sweet Cravings, Jana and Russ D'Agostino. And they come with a lot of experience. They've had a food truck. They've been to our events. We're pretty excited. I think you're going to see that, the menu and where they specialize is really going to fit very well in the park.
Hi.
Hello, good evening, everybody. My name is Jana, my husband Russ, and my daughter Gianna. I'm the owner of Sweet Cravings. We're very excited and honored for this opportunity to take over food and beverage in Commons Park. We feel that we're going to be an amazing fit because we are not only a family in the community, but it's such a beautiful location that we want to have everybody come there to eat for lunch and dinner and sit on the patio. We're going to offer a wide variety of menu items.
We're going to have an ice cream store.
Yes, an ice cream parlor. We want to offer something for everybody, vegan, gluten-free, sandwiches, salads. Milkshakes, yes.
Brownies, cookies.
Brownies?
And ice cream.
Yeah, and homemade ice cream.
Uh-huh.
So,
and icy.
And icy.
Italian icy.
So we're very excited and for this opportunity. And obviously, if we get approved, we would love and be honored to have all of you come for a grand opening once the COVID-19 virus is safe. And we would love to have all of you come and join us for a big grand opening ribbon cutting center.
And we got
Well, first of all, welcome to the village. And now, you're going to be operating out of the sporting center?
Out of the Royals Common Park, yes, on the second floor cafe. We're going to be building out a kitchen, if approved. We're going to be building out a kitchen and a little area to...
Now, you have an opening date set?
No.
Okay.
Not yet.
Everything is pending with this emergency that we're
Yes,
living.
yes. So we
Okay.
have been looking at restaurant equipment and everything, but
Okay.
everything is pending what's going on in the
Okay.
world right now because it's...
Good.
And we
Good.
need cupcakes.
I'd just like to say if, I'm happy to see you aboard, and if what goes on at Commons Park is anything close to the stuff you did in your food truck, I've only been one time, it was beyond exceptional. So
Yeah.
I look forward to you being a success at Commons Park and making it a big, tremendous asset it should be. And thank you.
Thank you. We're very excited. We make everything from scratch, so
We
you
make
can taste the
everything
love in
from
our food, and
scratch.
we're excited to bring this to Royal Palm Beach Parks and the community.
And some cupcakes and some milkshakes. And
I see who your chief marketing officer is.
As boss lady.
Does she get to test anything? Gee, do you test all the food that
probably
comes
tests it
out?
all, yeah.
Nice. Yes.
Yes.
Good.
Well, thank you, and as I said, welcome to the village.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Hope we
much.
get through this current crisis.
cannolis too.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Thank
We
you.
can't wait to
Bye-bye.
taste
Thank you.
everything.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
See you,
Very
thanks.
excited.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. So
And they were wonderful. They were actually at the mayor's golf tournament that they had out there as well.
That was
them,
I
yep.
thought it was. I'm saying,
Yeah.
where I've seen them before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Well.
I make a
no further
motion,
questions?
yeah. I make a motion to approve regular consent agenda item number 4.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that consent agenda item number 4 was approved 5-0. So best of luck. And as I said, let's get through this current crisis. Okay. We also had,
Bye-bye.
good night.
Yep.
Who wants to speak about consent agenda item number 9?
I'll do it.
You?
Yeah. So actually, I'm gonna ask our
Ask the
village
village
manager to kind of elaborate a bit on that, but I think that's a great step in a really good direction to try to resolve a challenge that we've had for a number of years. So I'm gonna turn that over to our village manager.
Well, this is an agreement between Uber Technologies and Royal Palm Beach. This is an agreement we kind of initiated contact with Uber about 2 years ago, probably, and with this idea. And at that time, they were a very rapidly growing company and didn't have a transit division whatsoever. They liked the idea. They liked everything we talked about, but they just really couldn't fit it into what they were doing at that time, and they were working on so many different things. They called me after they did start their transit division sometime last year. They saw all the notes in their file of what we were trying to do, and they called me up and said that they think they can do something now. And they basically were doing everything that we ended up trying to work out 2 years ago. And what that is offering our seniors 65 years and older $5 off per trip, up to 8 trips a month within Palm Beach County. The program, they'll have to register, the seniors that live in Royal Palm Beach will have to register at the rec center. They will fill out a form there, and we will verify residency, and we will get their name and an email address. That information we will pass on to Uber, and when they go on to the app to put it on their phone, it'll have that option for the Royal Palm Beach. When the name and the name and the email match, then the Uber technology will give them this $5 off for up to 8 rides. It is a 1-year contract, and we've budgeted $40,000 for it, and we're looking forward to working with them. I'm very impressed with what Uber is doing out there. A couple years ago when we talked about this, there was a lot of questions that came up about their ability to do this and how they were going to handle ADA and how they were going to handle dealing with seniors. And they've really stepped up. They do have ADA vehicles available.
Wow.
They
Really?
They
Okay.
even have licensed drivers that are licensed to be able to assist seniors, which does if you touch seniors, you have to have a license for a special license for that. And they do have they have that service available too.
That's great.
So they also, there's transit companies throughout the country that are finding the fixed bus route very inefficient. Large buses, fixed bus route, very inefficient and not all that convenient. And some of those transit authorities have been looking at door-to-door service with much smaller vehicles, and Uber's really kind of stepped into that business too. I think when you look at the pilot programs that have been done out there, the transit authorities are doing it for approximately $40 a trip. They can get the trip they're doing the trip for cities for under $20. And then of course, when we get to the autonomous world, it would even be half of that. So they're working on that. They're in the business. They have the technology to make shared rides very inexpensive. Some of the software that they're working on because if you're willing to, when you get on a car and if you're willing to share your ride with somebody else and let them pick somebody up, then your ride becomes even cheaper. And they even have ways of people that are en route somewhere or close to it. They can identify their location by their phone, and they can say a car will be coming by that area in 4 minutes and can pick you up. And it's
cool.
really going to be it's moving to be a very, very convenient ride system for people, and I think someday it's convenient enough to where people will use this instead of choosing to use their own car.
Okay.
That sounds really good. Is there a city that is already engaged in something similar to this?
They have some transit agreements with larger cities on doing the door-to-door service. I don't know who they are.
Okay.
I didn't get that information from them.
You know of one?
No, actually, I'd heard that there were some interested in it. I was wondering if they offered an example. That might be an interesting thing also to give us a little more insight. But clearly, we're going to learn a lot in the first year, I'm sure.
Well, I will tell you, persistence here, I think, finally paid off because
did.
the village manager was constantly calling, going up the chain of command at Uber, and it became clear to us at some point that what they really were grappling with was how they were going to handle this ADA issue. And I'm surprised they stepped up to it, kind of saying, let's engage and let's go let's provide the services for that part of the community. And I guess from an organizational perspective, how they wanted to manage this from an organizational standpoint. So it sounds like they did that, and the fact that they said, look at all these letters and things we got from Royal Palm Beach, so they got back to us, say, okay, we're ready to play now. So that's good. Excellent. Any other questions, comments? We'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda item C9.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that consent agenda item number 9 was approved 5-0. And I guess we have our citizens out there who are saying it's about time. And I'm glad that we got it done finally. And we'll go from here. All right, moving on to the regular agenda. Regular agenda item number 1 is a public hearing to consider a variance application 19-044, an application by Li Liang and variance order number VC 20-1. The applicant is requesting a variance from section 26-80 to allow for a reduced front yard setback of 18 feet for a main structure, where the village code requires 25 feet for a property located on 1343 Elmbank Way. This is a quasi-judicial process, so we have to have a swearing in.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. If you're going to be speaking to the council on this item, I need to place you under oath. If you'll please stand and raise your right hand. Do each of you swear or affirm under penalties of perjury that your testimony will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you, and then back to council for disclosure of any ex parte discussions regarding this matter.
None?
None.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We can proceed.
Okay. Well, Bradford, I guess this came before the council at the last meeting, and
Yes, sir.
you want to take it from there? And what?
You gave a pretty good summation of the setback that he is requesting. I'll just give a brief overview of his justification. The applicant asserts that the construction to enclose the front porch was done by the previous owner. The applicant contends that the variance request is not due to actions of the current owner. It is the applicant's position that the requested variance is the minimum variance which will allow reasonable use of the property, and that the variance will not confer on the applicant special privileges. The applicant further asserts that it was only when they were contacted by the village's code enforcement division that they became aware of the structure and did not have a permit and did not meet the required setbacks. And I will skip the variance criteria. This is where the porch is located. Here is an illustration, a visualization of the porch. Now, if I may, this overhang or eave over the concrete pad does have a bona fide building permit. The enclosing of that porch area does not have a building permit, and that's why we're here tonight. This is the applicant here, and I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Would the applicant like to come up? And actually, this item came before the council at our last council meeting, but you weren't here, and we really wanted to hear from you.
Yeah.
Trying to get your side of the story, so to speak, and figure out what's myth and what's real, that sort of thing. So.
Yeah. First, I would thank you, Li Liang. Yeah. Yeah, my name is Li Liang, and first I would thank you for the members to be here and continue to serve the community. I work for the Palm Beach State College, and our college was closed last week, so that's why. This house I purchased in 2011, 9 years ago, and the time I was purchased is exactly the same, and but this color is new color. I painted it, and also the hurricane shutter I put it on. And last year the code enforcement picked it up and said the enclosure has no permit. The overhang, the concrete has permit, but it's in the old construction map, and I'm not aware of this situation. And then I came in, asked what I need to do. They said you need to have a permit, and then I just went on to have the land survey, and also the engineer worked on. And finally, when I come in, and they said go ahead and measure the distance from the enclosure to the property line, and it's not up to 25 feet. So now it's 18.6 feet. So therefore, they turned me back, said, go ahead and apply the variance first, and then coming back to apply the permit. And just that little bit, I think is 25, 18, 7 feet, and the variance. And so that's why I'm here.
I just want to be clear. You're saying you purchased the property in 2011, and this is the way the property was?
Yeah, yeah. And I have no idea, and I even don't know if this was enclosed by previous owner. And so there are many generations probably in there. And before, the code enforcement never picked it up before. Yeah. Last year, it was picked up. Yeah. Said just the enclosure has no permit, and the rest of the roof and everything has a permit. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you can add to this?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're
you can sit down. I don't have any comment cards on this agenda item R1, but if anyone would like to comment, now would be the time. Seeing none, then I'm closing agenda item R1 to comments from the public. Comments from members on council. Questions?
I just wanted to follow up on the mayor's question, and he resolved it for me. I had an issue last time because we had an application, and we have the statements in the application. And you know, most of the times I'm sympathetic to the fact that you bought this property, and you're swearing under oath here today that you brought the property and that's the way it looked.
Yeah.
We didn't have that last time, so all I had was a piece of paper that said what it said, but we didn't have a human being coming in and testifying that, yes, this is the way it was. And for me personally, it was difficult relying on just a piece of paper, and I believe it was the mayor who said maybe we should bring this back. And I do appreciate you coming forward today, because this helps me I would have made a much different decision last time if we had resolved on it than what I'm going to vote today. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely need the help, and so that I can keep more than 400 students survive online now, and we are tending to virtual teaching now, and so I have an urgent
Good luck with that.
responsibility and the stress every day, and yeah.
Jan, did you want to say something? Oh, okay. All right, if there are no further comments, then I'll look for a motion to approve the variance.
I make a motion to approve regular agenda item number 1.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R1 was approved 5-0. Thank you very much,
Thank
sir.
you for coming
so
in.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda item R2 is a public hearing to consider variance application 19-105, an application by Insight Studio, in a variance order of VC 20-202 to provide for a variance to allow 143 parking spaces for a planned commercial development, which requires 149 parking spaces as established in section 23-51, required minimum number of parking spaces for a property located at 11700 Okeechobee Boulevard. This is a quasi-judicial process. So
Thank you, Mayor. If you're going to be speaking to the village council, I need to place you under oath. If you'll stand and raise your right hands, each of you swear or affirm under penalties of perjury that your testimony to the village council will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Yes. Thank you. You can have a seat, and then back to council for disclosure of ex parte communications on this item.
None.
Thank you, Mayor. Then we can proceed.
Okay, perfect.
Great, thank you. The applicant is requesting a parking variance from the village's Code of Ordinances, Section 2351-2I, in order to reduce the number of required parking spaces from 149 spaces to 143 parking spaces for the Village Center planned commercial development. The request results in a requested variance of 6 parking spaces for the center. The applicant is seeking this variance in order to allow the entire existing 22,170 square foot, 2-story building be used for a medical office. For medical office purposes. There are currently 2 vacant out parcels on the site in addition to the existing office building. The existing two-story building was originally site planned for 50% professional office and 50% medical use. The applicant is proposing to make available the entire building for medical purposes. The original approved required the existing office building to provide a total of 110 parking spaces per village code, and the proposed conversion to all medical office uses requires a total of 116 parking spaces, again resulting in a variance of 6 parking spaces. Village Code Section 2351-2I requires 1 parking space for every 200 square feet of gross leasable area, plus 1 per employee on maximum work shift. Again, the variance request is for 6 parking spaces. Village Code Section 2353A1 allows Village Council to grant variances of the parking code when special conditions and circumstances exist which are not applicable to other lands. Special conditions do not result from the actions of the applicant, will not confer on the applicant special privileges that are denied to other lands. Literal interpretation of the code would deprive the applicant of the rights enjoyed by other lands. The minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the property, and it will be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of the zoning code. The applicant asserts that this property is unique in that it has been vacant since the date that it received a certificate of occupancy over a decade ago. The applicant further asserts that the literal interpretation of the code would deprive the applicant reasonable use of the property, as the building has remained vacant since its completion, even though it is located on a prime corner lot at a busy intersection. Finally, the applicant contends that this is the minimum variance required to make reasonable use of the property. Village did send out the 300-foot notice to all residents within 300-foot or property owners within 300-foot radius. We have not received any notifications back from those. Staff is not in support of this variance because staff believes that it does not meet the criteria for granting a variance. This item was considered by the Planning and Zoning Commission at its regular meeting on February 25th, 2020, and was recommended for approval by a vote of 4-1. And with that being said, Mayor, I'll turn the floor back over to you. Thank you.
All right, just to be clear, this property is located
This is the one that's on the corner.
Royal Palm Beach Boulevard and Okeechobee.
In Okeechobee Boulevard.
That's been there for how many years now?
It was one of the first projects that I worked on. They were closing it out when I got here 14 years ago.
14 years ago.
Okay.
Been a while.
Right.
Just want to make sure we knew what property we were talking about.
Right.
Sir, how you doing? Good to see you again.
Good evening. Brian Terry for the record with Insight Studios. It's a pleasure to be back in front of you, Mayor, council members. We are excited to be here this evening. We're bringing this variance forward. Again, the property has been vacant for a very long time. It's under new ownership with a focus in filling this facility with medical office uses. Dr. Steck-Schulte is here, who will be the primary care that there are actually building permits in for the bottom floor to actually be the first tenant within that building since its inception. But that being the hub of what will hopefully become a medical office hub, and not really a better word than that, within the village, something that can spawn ancillary medical office users that'll go along with that primary care component. So briefly, I'll run through a very quick presentation, hopefully. Again, just for information, this is the property. I mean, it's across the street from where we are right now. Focusing in, as you know, this building has been sitting there for a long time. The two vacant parcels that are kind of on either side of it are approved as banks. And so this is what the existing approved site plan actually looks like. Again, approved in 2006. It was completed in 2009. Red is our building. It was approved as half medical, half professional, with the two banks, which are shown in yellow. So we're not proposing to impact the parking. We're not requesting a variance that's affecting those parcels. We're really focusing on the entire justification, if you read through it, is really focused on the office building in particular. So those bank spaces of 33 that are required and tied directly to those are not being requested to be impacted. It's really the fact of requesting a total, the reduction from 142 down to what we're proposing, I'm sorry, the 149, which is required right now, down to the 143 for a total variance of 6 spaces. There's a couple of reasons, and some of the thought process we went through when we started analyzing this was, one is the building wasn't quite built to the same size that it was originally approved as, so there's a slight reduction in total square footage from that standpoint. Again, we're trying to reduce the impact of the variance as much as we could through this process. The gross leasable area is something that is supposed to be accounted for. The parking is only supposed to be based on the gross leasable area of the building, not the gross total area of the building. So we deducted those areas out. You can see on this plan as well as the following plan, that's the second floor. The first one was the first floor. We deducted out those areas which are not leasable spaces within the facility itself and reduced that from the total. So again, 22,170 is how it was originally approved and it was parked for. If you reduce the actual building square footage, 176, that's a reduction from how it was formally permitted and built. Then you reduce the non-leasable space of approximately 2,000 square feet. We're down to 19,900 is the actual leasable square footage of the building. So again, the village has a unique parking code requirement when it comes to medical offices, unique to all of your neighbors, quite frankly. It's one space per 200 square feet for the office use in itself, plus an additional parking space for all doctors or employees. Now, that doctor and employee count is typically calculated into the 1 per 200. That's why they use a more strict 1 per 200 versus a 1 per 300 for a professional office or something else. It's factored into most other municipalities' parking calculations, and I show you 3 examples: Palm Beach County, City of West Palm Beach, and Village of Wellington, all immediately surrounding us, that use the 1 per 200. So as an example, if you were to use those parking calculations or like scenarios, we wouldn't be standing here at all for a variance. It would meet the parking criteria under that scenario. So that's one point of contention or issue that we wanted to bring forward with this. And also the fact that, again, it is approved for bank uses. We don't know whether those bank uses will actually come to fruition or not in the long term. However, we are, not impacting their parking requirement. We had a gentleman at the last P&Z hearing who owned one of those properties and indicated his concern. I think we talked through that as I'm indicating to you just ahead of time in case there's anybody who wants to speak to that issue. Again, we're focusing on the variance specific to the medical office building size and use requirements. So again, kind of just touching base back on the 1 per 200 criteria that you might see elsewhere. It's actually in the village's code as for a shopping center. So we kind of consider ourselves generally in the same context of a shopping center. We're a planned development just like the shopping center across the street where you just park across the entire property regardless of what uses are internal to it, right? You're just capturing if you're a restaurant versus a retail versus whatever. You don't break down the parking per individual use. You do it across the entire planned development. And that's generally the same concept we're requesting you to acknowledge and granting through the variance today. So again, we think it's a very minor request. It's 4% variance of what the parking requirement is for the entire thing. It is a total of 6 spaces. It certainly provides the opportunity to maximize the potential of the building. That's what I think certainly the new owners and certainly I think the market has been tending towards as I've personally been in conversations with multiple property owners as they own this building. And that's always been the real opportunity that's in front of them is to maximize this building for medical office, which I think would be a benefit not only to the village, but certainly all the residents to have that close. So with that, I appreciate it. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
I have one question for you. Are you guys going to get the clock working?
It's a great question. I just received a card of a gentleman who can apparently fix the clock, and we passed it on to the owners. Absolutely.
Okay. Before I pass it on to the council, I have no comment cards from the public on this agenda item. Or 2, right? Yes. But if anyone would like to comment, now would be the time. Seeing none, I'm closing public comments in on agenda item R2. I think you had your hand up.
I don't know if I missed it, Brian, but did you mention how much? I know we have a doctor here today who is looking to be in the facility. What amount of it was the square? Did you say how many square feet of the building, or what is he looking?
Of the first permit? I think the initial space is approximately 7,000, maybe just under 7. 6,600 square feet.
All right.
Of the bottom floor is the very first permit to come in, so it occupies the majority of the first floor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I think my question along those lines, though, is because it has been vacant for so long, in the event that it is not completely medical or that you need to bring in other physicians, are you willing to alter the top floor to get it fully occupied, or are you willing to just to take your time so it is completely medical?
I think that the intention is to, again, occupy this as a medical office building. You know, if that just cannot come to fruition, I'm sure they'll look to the other opportunities, which this would still accommodate. I don't think there would be any limitation to putting a professional office use within the building.
Right.
Right. You don't have to come back. This just allows for the medical.
Jan?
I'm just delighted at the prospect here of actually having that building occupied, and seems like a fairly reasonable request, so.
Yeah. Okay, if there are no further questions from members on council, I'll look for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve regular agenda item R2.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show. Agenda item R2 was approved 5-0. Good luck.
Thank you, everyone.
Make it through this crisis, and hopefully you stay on
Thank
track.
you. Be safe, Doc.
Okay, agenda item R3 is a public hearing to consider application number 19-037, an approval of a resolution 20-05 confirming our actions. The applicant is seeking to abandon a 25-foot maintenance easement located on track C-1 of the Waterway Plaza, plat number 2.
All right, thank you. The applicant is requesting that the village council abandon a 25-foot maintenance easement located on track C1 of the Waterway Plaza, plat number 2. The easement was used for canal and lake maintenance, but there is no longer a public purpose for the full 25-foot easement. You can see the easement here in the darker boundary lines. The village will still have access to the water body adjacent to the track C1 pursuant to an easement recorded by the property owner. It further should be noted that all other lake and canal maintenance easements depicted on the Waterway Plaza plat number 2 shall remain in full force and effect unless abandoned and released by the village council through separate recorded instrument. Staff is recommending approval of application 1937 and resolution 2005. And I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Is the applicant here? Sir.
Good evening.
Evening.
Yeah, we obviously have been through this for a year and a little over a year now, and seems like we have all the ducks in the road ready to go. And
No
we've
pun
had some
intended, right?
little problems, but we've overcome everything that was requested of us.
He's just basically here to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay.
Well, what's this project?
in
What do you, about this
context.
issue, what you're doing?
I built a Dunkin' Donuts
Right.
35 years ago. So now I own the property north of it, which is this what subject we're talking about.
You owned it when it had the Miami Subs?
Yes.
Okay.
So now I want to build
Miami
a
Subs.
Dunkin' Donuts by itself
Yeah.
on this parcel.
Okay.
Knock the building down that I'm in now and put another building there, what it is, I don't know at this point, over to the south. And there'll be a road between the two properties, enter and exit and so forth. I think it's going to look beautiful.
You're going to build a new Dunkin' Donuts?
No. Just
old
one,
Dunkin'
a
Donuts.
new one, just one on this parcel.
Okay.
Just maybe to jump in here and clarify, this is a kind of a companion item to the site plan
Okay.
approval. This, not the next one, but the one after that, to facilitate that site plan.
Okay.
We're going to build a brand-new 3,100 square foot Dunkin' Donut on this piece. And the one
okay.
that's there now, yes,
Okay.
we're going to take it down and just change that whole look.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add? Good. All right. Before we go to council, I do not have any comment cards on this agenda item R3. This thing is not working right for me. Okay. On agenda item R3, But anyone would like to comment from the public? That would be the time. Seeing none, I'm closing public comment on agenda item R3. And who was first? Was it you? Sure. Go ahead.
No.
I don't have a light. We don't have our lights. Oh, there they are.
Yeah, they're over there.
I'm sorry, I didn't see them.
Just, I don't know if anyone wants to go first or. I just had a question because it is a shared, the current building right now is a shared building, correct? Isn't Dunkin' Donuts on one side and the other side is,
Today,
Sure.
right now?
that building has been many things, but it's going to come down as soon as we build this one.
So, and then the other tenant that's in the building with you is relocating
Everybody's
then?
leaving.
Okay,
So it's going to be an empty parking lot for a while until we find a tenant
okay, thank you.
to build something new.
So if I understand this correctly, R3 and R4 and R5 are all part of
Yes,
this,
sir.
right? It enables that. Can you explain the easement piece of this and how that fits into the?
I'm going to pull Chris Marsh up here. He's the lake maintenance or the easement expert. Don't touch anything.
There was a platted easement that existed for maintenance of the waterway there. And as part of the agreement, will be digging out to the full extent of the waterway, which he'll create a retaining wall. And then he's given us another easement for access through his drive aisles. So we'll have basically equivalent access easement once everything's said and done. So.
Okay, so this agenda item then provides for that change basically to a different easement, but it allows us to do the same thing.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Jan? No? All right. Well, if there are no further questions, and I'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve regular agenda item R3.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R3 was approved. Now, moving on to the next connected component. All right, there's a public hearing to, agenda item R4 is a public hearing to consider application 19-108, application by architect Bruce Kliniski, an adoption of landscape waiver number 20-01, confirming that council action. The applicant is seeking a landscape waiver from sections 15-131 of the Village Zoning Code to allow for elimination of the required 3-foot-high perimeter berm along the west and a portion of the north property line, and to allow for a reduction in the width of the required landscape buffers allowing the west, north, and east property lines. The property is situated on approximately 0.92 acre parcel of land located at 1351 Royal Palm Beach Boulevard. This is a quasi-judicial process, so we have to swear in.
Thank you, Mayor. For this item, I do need to place you under oath. If you're going to be speaking to the council, if you'll raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under penalties of perjury that your testimony will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I will.
Thank you. And then back to council for disclosure of any ex parte discussions.
None.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We can proceed.
Great, thank you. The applicant is proposing a waiver to eliminate the required 3-foot berm within the landscape waiver along the west and north property lines, and to reduce the buffer width from the required 25 feet down to the minimum of 5 feet width along the west, north, and east property lines. The applicant is also seeking a landscape waiver to allow for a 15-foot wide buffer where a 25-foot wide buffer is required along Royal Palm Beach Boulevard. The request is due to the location of a 10-foot wide utility easement along the east property line. No reduction in landscape material is requested. It will all be located within the reduced buffer width. And these areas here in green are the areas in which we are speaking of. The applicant stated in their justification statement that they are requesting landscape waiver due to the location of easements along the west, north, and east property lines. Staff is recommending approval of these landscape waiver requests and generally concurs with the applicant's assessment. Staff believes that this is a minimum waiver necessary to allow reasonable use of the property, and the Planning and Zoning Commission approved this application at their regular meeting. And I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Does the applicant choose to add anything else to that?
Didn't hear you.
You want to add anything else to what was presented?
No, what we have is.
You accept the way
I
it
work
presented
it
was
up,
good?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, I do not have any comment cards on the agenda item. You trying to get my attention?
No.
Oh, okay.
Just clear my throat.
It wasn't a, it was a.
I think it was the combination of the
You were really
scratching
clearing your
of the back.
throat,
Yeah,
okay.
I can see where the confusion lies.
I do not have any public comment cards on agenda item R4, but if anyone would like to comment, now would be the time. Seeing none, I'm closing public comment on agenda item R4 and opening up for comments from council.
I do.
Okay.
Actually, my concern is because of the variance in the buffering and the landscaping, and then because of the beautiful tall pine trees that are there and our landscaping ordinance that we have now, how does that play into effect of, are they able to replace the trees that are now going to be torn down to accommodate for this, but then are they not doing they also, go ahead.
The site will have all required landscaping as far as the material is concerned. He's able to fit with the reduction in the width of the buffer, although it's not ideal. He is maintaining the landscape materials within those areas. So
then the trees are going to be replaced or?
Those trees are coming down.
Right, and are they going to be now relocated?
He has no plans to relocate those trees.
Okay, but then because he is tearing them down and because of our requirements now, he needs to replace those, correct?
Those aren't specimen trees in accordance with our code. Those aren't the protected species.
Jay? Richard? Jeff? Selena, any further questions? No. Oh, okay. Well, if there are no further questions, then I'll look for a motion.
I'll move to approve regular agenda item R4.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R4 was approved 5-0. Now moving on to agenda item R5, which is a public hearing to consider application 19-002, an application by architect Bruce, say his name.
Bruce Solinsky.
Solinsky, I had it right, okay. An adoption of resolution number 20-04, confirming a council action. Applicant is seeking site plan, special exception use and architectural approval for approximately, for 3,183 square foot restaurant with drive-through on an approximate .92 acre parcel of land located at 1351 Royal Palm Beach Boulevard. This also is a quasi-judicial process. Do you have to swear him in again?
Same individuals testifying, you're still under oath. Just get a verification that there are no additional ex parte discussions or any ex parte discussions.
No.
Seeing none, then we can proceed, Mayor.
Okay.
Great, thank you. The applicant is seeking approval for site plan, special exception use, and architectural approval in order to develop a 3,183 square foot restaurant with drive-through, which is the special exception component of this application on a .9 acre parcel of land located 1351 Royal Palm Beach Boulevard. The site consists of a .9 acre parcel within the Waterway Plaza planned commercial development that is currently vacant. It is the applicant's intent to construct a new retail building on the site, a Dunkin' Donuts. The applicant is also seeking architectural approval for the building and landscape plan for the project. Here you can see on the screen is a site plan, or the proposed site plan. The primary access to the site will be provided from a right turn in and a right turn out. If you can see where my cursor is here, the flow will be a right turn in. Ample stacking spaces for the drive-through. We all know how popular Dunkin' Donuts is in the morning. And a right turn out. Secondary access will be from the center itself, some drive aisles from the center itself, and there will be a sidewalk connecting to Royal Palm Beach Boulevard sidewalks.
I'm sorry, while you're there, can you put your cursor where the current building is located right now? Just hover over that. Okay, thanks.
In reviewing this application, village staff considered conformity with Chapter 26 of the Village's Code of Ordinances. Specifically, the proposed project meets the requirements for the General Commercial Zoning District and Section 2661 Planned Commercial Development as it pertains to parcel size, parcel width, setbacks, pervious area, and the landscape plan. Aside from the landscape waiver request 1901, which was the previous item on this agenda, parking requirements, maximum building height, and queuing spaces. This slide is an illustration of the landscape plan. The proposed landscape plan meets all of the minimum standards of Chapter 15 landscaping, with the exception of the perimeter buffer width and berm requirements. The applicant is also requesting architectural approval for the proposed building. This is an illustration of the east and north elevations. Looks like there's a little bit of new branding going on with the new Dunkin' Donuts building. Here's an illustration of the west and south elevations. Overall, the proposed site plan, special exception architecture meet all the village's requirements for this type of use in the general commercial zoning district, and the design standards for restaurants with drive-through, a village code with the exception of the landscape waiver. This item was considered by the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting as a regular meeting on February 25th, 2020, recommended approval by a vote of 5-0. And again, staff is recommending approval of this application. And I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Applicant like to make any additional comments?
It's coming together.
You're good? Okay. I'm just curious, what's your timeline on this?
Time?
Yeah, when do you think you'll have this?
From now until permit, I'm not sure the time, but if it's what I think it is, like 3 to 4 months, I should be open for Christmas.
Well, okay, good. I don't have any comment cards for members of the public, but if anyone would like to comment, now would be the time. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close public comment on agenda item R5 and look for comments from members of the council.
I just have a quick question. Do you have any, will be there a break in service from the current location until you have built?
No, because everything's going to be new. So we're going to run until the day that we have that one ready for open, the CEO. Then we just switch the people over.
Okay. Great.
No, it shouldn't be no interruption. Shouldn't be.
I just made a comment that I've actually heard from people about the stacking issues at this one.
You're not going to have that again.
Exactly, and I wanted to say thank you for addressing that. I never knew it was such an issue, but
that was a big reason why we've gone this way.
Well,
now we got. It shouldn't be
great idea fixing it.
There should be no problem with Royal Palm with backing up.
I was just going to comment on the stacking issue too, because I mean, if you want to see a nightmare situation, you just go to Forest Hill Boulevard.
But we went with double drive-through. One of them is today you can phone in your order, and all you need is to pick it up. It's all paid. It's all done.
Okay.
So the second one, they just keep zipping through it, so it reduces that whole stacking that we used to have.
That's great.
Plus, now we go around the building, which is much further than we have today. I mean, 7, 8 cars you want in a Royal Palm.
Right.
Now you probably could have 15 and still not be there.
That's good. That was my one concern about that.
Much safe, much better.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no further.
The chocolate coconut donuts. Bring back the chocolate coconut donuts.
Okay.
We will.
There's no further comments or requests for donuts. I'll look for a motion.
I make a motion to approve regular agenda item number 5.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R5 was approved 5-0. Good luck, and I hope you can stay on
I want
schedule.
to thank you all.
Okay.
Have a nice evening and be safe.
Thank you. You too.
You too.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda item R6 is really a discussion on all of the preventive steps that we have been taking or are looking to take in the village, and I think we'll get an update from the village manager on that.
Good evening.
Evening.
Well, this has been a busy week dealing with the coronavirus. We do take the coronavirus very serious, and we are taking the necessary precautions to protect our residents, customers, and staff. When we were faced with looking at this and our operations and what should we do and what shouldn't we do, we first looking at the, why. And the why is obviously because we have a virus that doesn't have a vaccine, that started on the other side of the world and moved its way around the rest of the world fairly quickly. If you do nothing, then the doubling of the infection rate will inundate your healthcare systems. Everything we are doing is recommended by the CDC and is to reduce that doubling of the infection rate. Like I said, if you do nothing, it's less than a week, as little as 2 days, 3 days. If we put these measures in place, the distancing measures, the washing the hands, the avoiding large meetings, stop not touching your face, then you can increase the time of the doubling of the infection rate through your population to 3 times the rate of doing nothing. I think just seeing that the one person that was at this meeting was a doctor wearing a mask shows the seriousness of what we're dealing with.
I know how to take that.
Everything, like I said, everything we're putting in place is consistent with the CDC recommendations, and this is what we've done to date. We have closed all of and the things that we chose to do are things that we knew we could not enforce the recommendations if we were to continue that practice. So we stopped all of our indoor activities at the rec center and the cultural center. There was no way we could continue to do any of those activities and maintain the recommendations. We have moved forward with most of the businesses that we do with the public to be online. If you go to our webpage now, it has all those desired business transactions on there. You click on it, it gives you the information, and it's set up so you can do business with us online. We have not closed our lobbies yet. If we feel that we cannot control the traffic in the lobby, we're looking at going to meetings with us by appointment only and locking the lobbies. And that may come soon. Now, we will do it in such a way where we'll put phone numbers on the door, and they could call us immediately, and if we're available, we can meet with them right away. We haven't done that yet, but we're looking at doing that. We have canceled all of our events scheduled through April, except for the few government public meetings that we need to have to keep the government running. That's this council meeting, it's a planning and zoning board meeting, it's a magistrate meeting for code enforcement that we already have the citations out there, and we're needing to close them out. We are going to operate each of those meetings as we've done here with the separation. If we don't think we can hold a meeting and keep those separations, we're going to figure something else out. And mainly what that is we kind of know the topics that may bring a lot of people, and just put those topics off to sometime in the future, undetermined. Things like the magistrate meeting, we can handle that with one person coming in the room at a time and the others waiting outside at a proper distance. Let's see, what else? We are maintaining all village essential services. The police department, being the sheriff's office, have put all their measures in place. They have closed their lobby. They are not doing fingerprinting. The fire department has closed their community room off at the present time. They've been preparing for this for some time and have trained their firefighters and their dispatch in how to ask questions and how to deal with this. The things that we haven't done yet, I mentioned it earlier, is the business with the village by appointment, and we're looking at possibly closing the post office at this location. We did talk to the post office. They can relocate those employees to another location and close that office for the meantime. If there's low volume at the post office, we can maintain the separation, but we can't guarantee that. And for some reason, it's actually been busier recently. I don't know why, but that's something we may need to look at here in the near future. We are working with HR and my other department heads, working with identifying our essential services and the services that we're providing, and seeing what kind of staff effect that will have and how we can deal with that if we're getting a significant number of staff that can't be here either because of the school closings or illness. And we are going through that exercise now. The methods that we put in place to determine how to deal with that and keep the essential services going, we have not determined yet, but we are working down the path to finalize that. And that is all I have for right now. This is very serious, and I can't stress enough the idea of stretching out that doubling effect, and where that comes in, or the doubling of the infection rate, and stretching that time out to what the maximum extent you can. Because the bottom line is, if you do nothing, it will inundate the healthcare system, it will inundate our ICU beds, and it will inundate the use of our ventilators, and it'll have a significant effect on the death rate, and that's what we're all wanting to avoid. So putting these rules in place, doing these separations, and keeping that infection rate down to the minimum or maximum amount of time possible is in everybody's best interest. And that's all I have.
Okay. I do not have any comment cards from the public on this agenda item R6, but if anyone from the public would like to comment, now would be the time. Seeing none, I'm closing public comment on agenda item R6. And who, was it you? You wanted to go first?
I was just going to ask the village manager, how are we sharing updates with the public? I mean, we've got a very effective website, and one of the things I've noticed is trying to keep up with all these changes is really difficult, and I think that would provide a tremendous service to the citizens of Royal Palm Beach to be able to help them do that, and if they could rely upon that, our website, for the most appropriate links and or information, I know it'd provide a service rather than just turning everybody loose on all of these different sources.
Right. So what we have done is we do have, if you go to our website, there is a red ribbon at the top that has COVID-19. If you click on that, it goes to a page that has a little introductory paragraph of the why and why we're doing this, and then some of the basic things people need to be doing. And then we do have a link to CDC, and we have a link to the local health department. They're the only two links we have right now, because that's the place for information. We're going to add, I think, another CDC link that takes you to today's information being put out by CDC. That's not done yet. And then the rest of the information on that page is doing business with us online.
So something like the governor's executive orders and that type of stuff, is that going to be accessible online as well? Because it does affect businesses and
we did put a summary of the governor's order in our paragraph, but we do not have links to other. We have it to the county health department that's putting all relevant information up, and we're into the CDC. You know, and there's a lot of sites out there. You can find hundreds of sites out there, and it's another one of those things that we run into today, where there's a fire hose of information that's coming at you, and if it can get inundating. So you can only drink water through a straw. You can't do it with the fire hose hitting you. And I really kind of kept it to the least amount of information and the health information and what our local health department and Dr. Alonso was saying, and left it at that.
Might want to consider taking a look at the business impact stuff, so that might be useful as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, we will make sure we continue to publish updated information that is handed down from, in terms of, from the governor, or either, even higher up, that impacts businesses, absolutely. I think, Jan, you were next. No?
And I will say, we do take the lead of the county when it comes to that. We're not trying to create our own guidelines and rules for that.
Right.
Because they're the ones that are paying attention to this. They're the ones that are paying attention to the rate that infections are happening in this area. They're the ones who know it before we do, and they are the ones that can come up with what we need to do to slow that rate of infection down, and when it needs to be slowed down. And they'll continue to change that, until
based upon the
situation, to do what we need to do to keep the healthcare system from being inundated. Because once it's inundated, that's when the real trouble starts.
Yeah.
Right.
Richard?
Yeah, I was just curious with the CDC's recommendation of, no meetings of, 10 people or more, or were the villages following that, correct? Or are we? Or
you've got the separation requirements, and then you do have the 10.
2 days ago was 50, but now it's 10.
Now it's 10. It's a moving target, but we're trying to do our best to follow that. And the vice mayor mentioned earlier, I don't know if, it would certainly be under 10, Jeff. You mentioned the applications and the interviews, because there's only...
Well, you can have them one at a time, kind of,
right? One at a time.
There's one at a time, and the panel is less than, it's 5?
And the panel will be spread out?
With Jacqueline and myself, it's a total of 8.
Okay.
So we're at 9,
so that
one
can
each,
still go forward as an in-person thing, and
oh yeah,
we are really pushing online, doing business with us online. We are using GoToMeetings.
That's a good way to go.
Our development review meetings are going to be through GoToMeeting.
Okay.
And we're doing everything we can that if we suspect a meeting that we can't control the attendance, we're going to put it off to some other time.
Okay.
Specifically, if we can't control the attendance and we know we can't control the separation guidelines, then it's a no-go.
Okay. Thank you.
Just on that note, our IT departments for some time been working on some of these kind of capabilities to move us to that kind of more of an online. And, there's nothing like having an emergency happen that forces you to start using some of that stuff, even though it may not be 100% where you want it, but this will help us get it closer to 100%. But they've been able to step up and put, make that capability available so that we can start doing some of this work online. So we'll see how that works out.
And I agree with the village manager as far as putting up those 2 sites that are up there, because they are constantly updating it, and this way you're not multiple clicks where it gets confusing. The SBA does have information on for small businesses and that they are offering relief. So any business owner.
A specific site?
The Small Business Association. So the SBA, if you go to that one, they will then have links to everything of where you can go get information from if you need financial relief, if you need that they do that. And also, I would like to commend the staff just for being so forward-thinking on this, so thank you very much for doing that. I know each department head goes through each building that we have, the sanitation, the cleaning, and the respect for individuals and our residents that come through, so thank you.
I just thought of another thing, which I believe the individual providers did it themselves, but for our sports leagues, I don't know if that's something we would, as a council, even want to wade into. It seems to me it would be a better idea to let the individual sports programs do what they're going to do. But I've gotten emails and
they've all canceled.
Yeah, I know everything's canceled, but they've done that on their own. That's nothing the village has done, and I think that's a good idea to let it be that way instead of being dictated by the council without, getting a response from all the kids and people involved, which I'm pretty sure is going to be off for quite a while.
And we are not closing any of our parks, and we still have rentals for our pavilions out there. And encouraging people to be outside, actually.
Jeff, did you click on something?
I did, sorry. I was thinking about our seniors, and we have volunteers at the rec center answering the phones. I'm assuming that's going to be stopped.
They volunteered to stop that. Thought I saw an email on that over a week ago.
Is there a way to, for seniors who don't know, is there a way for that phone number to be transferred to somebody so that they can at least answer the phone? Either staff or another volunteer, or a recorded message on where they should go?
We only had that. That phone was only available during the hours that they were there. It wasn't
24/7.
Wasn't other times, and the messages said that on there. I would imagine that message has been changed.
So does it give them somewhere to go except for we're not answering the phone?
I don't know the answer to that.
Somebody put a light on over here.
All right. I was just going to follow up. You were talking about staying aware of what's going on by staying in touch with the Department of Health, Dr. Alonso. So they do periodic meetings, conference calls?
10 o'clock every day.
10 o'clock every day. So it is that frequent, and so good chance of staying abreast, even though this thing is changing rapidly, right?
Yes, and the anxiety level of those calls have gone up quite a bit this week.
Okay.
There's a lot of fear out there. There's a lot of anxiety out there. There's keeping a coordinated effort, and I mean, some of the coastal cities with the closing of the beach, cities closing beaches, and it shifts the people around, and the anxiety level is high.
One of the best ways to deal with that is get information out there that's correct, and of course it is picking the right sources and being well informed.
That's the key.
That is really important.
A lot of the concern and anxiety is the unknown, what people don't think they know. And
the health department, the CDC, they do know, and taking their guidance is the thing to do. This is something they've tracked around the world. They know where we are compared to other areas that it's gone, and they're doing everything they can to keep that exponential growth from happening.
Captain Vic, is there anything else you'd like to add? No, sir. I think the village manager covered everything. Okay, good. You want to add something?
Just the one area that still has a big question mark hanging over it are handling meetings like this in terms of the government and the Sunshine Law. You have not only the issue of public access, but the issue of having a quorum physically present to conduct business. We still have gotten no guidance or relief from the state. The statute has a provision that actually allows, that empowers the governor to deal with things like public meetings and how they're run, but the state has been silent on that. Last night, a news story hit that there was at least one municipality in Miami-Dade that decided, because they had some self-quarantined elected officials, they conducted their council meeting via video conference, acknowledging it was in violation of the Sunshine Law, but they felt that that was the thing for them to do. There's no answer yet. It's people are going to start making those decisions on which is the lesser of the evils, being in substantial compliance with the Sunshine Law and getting your business done, or the other way around. So,
well, I think that we would want to err on the side of we're going to be compliant, but certainly keep an eye on what's happening there and whether or not we're going to get any relief or different guidance.
It would be very difficult for me to advise you to knowingly step into that realm of violating the Sunshine Law. It would have to be something extremely dire, and I'm not aware of that. So
we'll do the best we can then in wanting to be compliant. Okay. Anything else? Anyone else? I don't need a motion on this? A motion to accept the report. Give me a motion that we accept the report from the
I
manager.
move to accept the report.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that acceptance of the manager's report on agenda item R6 was approved, 5-0. With that, we're going to adjourn. I thank you all, and, you know, let's all stay plugged in and posted on what's going on, and we shall persevere.